So, Penn State got a win. So what? We advanced to, I think, 6-1 or 5-1. Can't remember. Don't care that badly, actually. I think 5-1. Regardless, the point is, despite the fact that Sean Clifford played well, I don't believe that he can do it consistently, which is unfortunate, because if he played as good as he did against Minnesota this coming week against Ohio State, I think that we have a fighting chance. But that isn't how it's going to work out, is it? I can already see in the future that Clifford is going to have a problem with these Ohio State defenders. And unfortunately, our coach hugs his nuts way too hard. And if Clifford, after, 4 or 5 drives, like midway through the second quarter, we still are having, because that wouldn't be 4 or 5 drives. It'd be like 3 to 4. If Clifford is still playing really bad, there is no excuse to have him out there on the field, especially if we go down. And you need a quarterback who's going to be able to throw you out of that situation. And I know exactly who's going to do it. He's sitting on the bench. Because for some reason, you wanted to make it up to your super senior quarterback who's not going to the NFL. You needed to make it up to him for some reason. It makes no sense. James Franklin is actually one of the worst coaches in college football. We won that game last night no matter who plays. That's what people don't understand. Despite the fact that Clifford did have a good game, a lot of that was scheming. And, you watch some of the touchdowns. Like his touchdown to Tyler Warren. Warren couldn't have been more wide open. His touchdown to Theo Johnson. Theo got pretty open too. It was like good scheming, good route concepts from Yursich. I don't know what took him so long to do this, because I don't think there's anything that's worse about Minnesota's defense compared to the other teams that we've been playing against. Like Michigan, we should have been running those plays. And then the Mitchell Tinsley touchdown, he was quite literally unguarded. They had a miscommunication on defense, and he just ran a fly down the sideline wide open. And some of the other big plays that they had, it was Clifford throwing it to his playmakers and letting them make plays. Like the Parker Washington touchdown, scary throw. But, as long as Parker got in good position, I know Parker, he's going to make that catch because he's a really good receiver. And then we have the Tinsley catch, offsides, just, take the shot, whatever. Because, fuck it, right? And, Tinsley can catch, right? Big surprise to everybody, I know. The only thing that I was pretty upset about is I watched 2 throws that game, which is showing that Sean Clifford is still Sean Clifford. And despite the good game, and I want to be happy, I want to be excited for Sean, but I don't think that, I think despite the good performance, he might still play poorly. And it sucks to say that, because you think he'd build off the momentum from this week. We're still going to be in Beaver Stadium. The crowd's going to be just as loud as last week, even though it isn't the whiteout. We'll have a similar amount of people in there. It's still going to be just as amped. We're bringing in the number 2 team in the country or whatever, right? So going to be a pretty exciting game despite that, because we only lost one by 9 or 11 last year. I forget which one. So it's going to be more difficult for them coming into our stadium, because they're not better than they were last year. I know people want to say that they were, but you're not going to. You don't have 2 first-round talent receivers on your team like you did last year. But I do think that they might have slightly improved the running back situation. Mayan Williams is head and shoulders above Travion Henderson. I don't care what the numbers indicate. From just watching them, I can tell Mayan is a lot better at running the football than Travion Henderson. But their defense has actually gotten worse. I watched it. It's completely vulnerable to a lot of passing especially, because Ohio State's defense is only good at one thing, and it's only really ever been good at one thing. Every once in a while, they'll push out a first-round talent cornerback. Most of them actually bust. The only one that I can think of was Marshawn Lattimore that's actually good, because you look at Eli Apple, he was a bust. Jeff Okuda, he's a bust right now. So maybe they were pretty good in college, but not the point to what I was talking about. Is that despite the fact that every once in a while they can put out a good cornerback prospect, they usually don't have a good defensive back on the field. And this year, especially, they don't have anybody good on that defense. So Nobody notable, nobody that's gonna win like second team All Big Ten even, right? Maybe Big Ten like mentionable, honorable mention, All Big Ten, and well, there's also that D line. That's what's gonna control the game. Same thing, it's like Minnesota. I honestly think Minnesota might have. If their defense isn't as good as Ohio State's, their front seven probably is. Because I don't think they get the same athletes in Minnesota that they do at Ohio State. But I do think that Minnesota's defense is good enough coach. For some reason, the Big West teams are really good at establishing a good, like D-line and O-line. They both, for some reason, Big Ten West is a lot better at that than the East. Mostly because they probably bring in all these like redneck hicks that live on farms and lift hay bales. But not the point. Point is, we're going to be playing against them next week. Ohio State. It's actually 6 days away now. And I couldn't be more worried for us. But we are still in it. If we lose this game, there's no point in playing Clifford. Maybe let him play in the bowl game. Just, like one last hurrah for Sean Clifford. But we are still in it. Because and I've already done the math. If we beat Ohio State this week, we're probably going to only move up to like 13 or 14 at the time of making this video. I don't know what our rank's going to be. But there's absolutely no way Ohio State can stay in front of us if we beat them. That would make no sense at all. All right? The only problem is, and they might stay in front of us, which is the annoying thing, because like we beat the number 2 team in the country and we only move up to 8 and they drop down to 6. It's like, well, we're better than them. Why are they ranked above us? But that is a reality. But I don't think that should happen. I think we should move above them. And so what has to happen after that is, and unfortunately they might jump us, but we're gonna keep moving up. Hopefully we win. We beat Maryland. That'll be a tough opponent. It'll look good. Especially if Tua's little brother's playing. I don't know what his name is because he's not relevant. Michigan State. Michigan State is actually pretty awful this year, but I do think that they're not a bad team. They've lost to a couple of average teams. They lost to Ohio State, but I think they put up the most points in Ohio State that any team has this year. Besides Arkansas State, and that's the thing about Ohio State. They let Arkansas State put up like 20 points on them. And it wasn't like the way that you would think. I think Arkansas State had like a touchdown and 4 or 5 field goals. Like they let Arkansas State go down the field and score 4 or 5 times, which is why I think their defense is actually not that good. So, anyway. I don't know. I think our defense is... I'm a little bit worried because the thing that I've noticed, and everybody's noticed about our defense, our linebackers are really bad at covering, and I think that a lot of it is scheming. I don't know who makes the personnel decisions. If it's Diaz needs to pull his head out of his ass. If it's Franklin, he needs to do the same. Because we have our two of our 3 best linebackers are rotational guys for some reason. And maybe it's because we have a smaller sample size. That's why I think that they're better. But I've looked and I've watched. So at our starting right outside, maybe it's left outside, regardless, that's Curtis Jacobs. Jacobs is a stud. He just had 14 tackles in the last game, maybe like 2 tackles for loss. He's our best linebacker. He should be on the field if he needs to be. Like if he wants to be on the field, like if he's not taking a break, he needs to be on the field at all times. Then at middle we have Tyler Elston, who, while he's not bad at tackling, he is quite possibly our slowest linebacker. Pretty unathletic, and when I've watched almost every game this year, when they've sent a running back out in a pass pattern, especially like out of the backfield and then like on a crosser, he's not fast enough. He doesn't have the speed to at least stay with him. I don't have to be stride for stride, but you need to be like a step behind in case he catches it. You can dive out and wrap him up, right? He doesn't have that speed, and he gets beat, and the running back will catch it and run down the sideline for 15 yards. So he can't be out there on the field in pass coverage. You can blitz him, but not in pass coverage. And maybe towards the goal line, he's better at that because everything gets tighter on the goal line. He might be better in that situation. So who do I think they should play instead of him? It's easy. It's Kobe King. He's believe a redshirt freshman because he didn't really play last year. He is extremely athletic. I mean, he should be, right? Because his brother's a corner, or his twin is a corner. I think they're fraternal. I'm not sure. But super athletic linebacker. He can move all over the field. I think he had a tackle for loss against Minnesota, and he doesn't really get to play that much. But I watched him make a lot of plays, and I've watched him play a fair amount this year, and he's always where the football is. He's a really good player, and I think they need to play him more. And then we have a guy right outside who's in a similar situation. Sorry, I lost my voice. Similar situation to Sean Clifford, where he's a 5th or 6th year senior, and they're trying to make it up to him by letting him play. His name's Jonathan Sutherland, and while he did have a couple good plays last game, overall he has been playing not good this season. And I don't know why they decided to play him this year, because he was a defensive back, and he also only played special teams. So what made you think that he deserved to suddenly get to start playing, right? And our backup, I'm sure you've heard enough about him if you're a Penn State fan. Maybe if you're a Big Ten fan, you've also heard about him. Abdul Carter is our freshman linebacker. He might, besides Jacobs, might be our best linebacker. And he's not getting to play because he has to sit behind a guy that, oh, he didn't get to play. He didn't get to play. He didn't get to play. We need to let him play now because he's been loyal. He's been loyal. No, you play who you need to win. And that's what separates people like James Franklin from Nick Saban. Saban isn't afraid to put Tua in over Jalen Hurts, right? So in our situation, Saban wouldn't be afraid to play Aller over Clifford or Abdul Carter. You play your best players. You don't play who. Experience is valued way too much, especially to Franklin. Apparently, both of our coordinators believe that too. It's valued way too much, especially in a game where we're at home. It's not a hard, tough road environment, right? You're not playing in a loud crowd environment. That's why I thought it'd be perfect for Drew to get to play. The field is dead quiet while he's playing. There's no noise. There's nothing to shake him, mentally. Against Michigan, that crowd is roaring, right? He's gonna have trouble. And a lot of quarterbacks do. Whenever you throw an incomplete or anything and that crowd starts cheering, it starts messing with you, right? But at Penn State, that's not happening. So I really do feel like that would have been the perfect situation to play him in. And